Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Saturday morning. I'm just getting up. It's a rainy day outside. Perfect day to stay in and work on some past projects and some future projects. Something I want to talk about, and I'm sorry if I'm kind of all over the place with this one. I did just wake up, so I'm kind of getting myself together, but it was officially announced yesterday from our Lord and Savior, Ed Boon, that there is going to be an official balance patch to come for MKXL, and that they are aiming to release it at the same time or around the same time as the PC release of MKXL, which is pretty cool. And they're also planning on doing a combat cast to go over the changes, which I like because the combat casts were always fairly informative, especially the balance patch ones. They were usually pretty thorough. They gave you just enough to be helpful, but then you always had to wait some time for the official WB patch notes to come out later. But Derek and Tyler are pretty good, so I don't mind the combat cast. I'm actually looking forward to it and seeing all the changes that are coming with the game. Something I've noticed, and this goes back obviously further than yesterday, but the hint of the patch, and Ed Boon has been hinting at this patch for a while now, posting little things on his Twitter page, a picture of Patch Adams, rest in peace, Robin Williams, guys balancing on, I don't know if it was a tightrope or something else, but the point is he's been hinting at this for a while, so we all knew this patch was coming at some point. Now that we have a concrete date, it's pretty cool because now it kind of puts the game in a weird perspective for some people. They're not really sure if they should, or how seriously they should take playing the game, if it's just going to change, maybe next month or so, early October, whenever the PC release is. I know tech videos have slowed down a little bit because there's not really a whole lot of point in posting tech right now if you find it, because it could change, but that's a topic for a whole other video. One thing that has been popping up a lot are the torches and pitchforks of the community for everybody coming after the top 5 characters. Your days are numbered, you Alien players, you Piercing Melina players, you Demolition players, Takeda players, Kano players, all them top 5 characters. Everyone wants to see these characters. Actually, no, let me correct myself. Not everyone. There are a lot of people who want to see the top 5 characters get destroyed. What do they call it? Tanya tier, after what happened to Tanya in MKXL. And there is the other group of people that want to see all the low tier characters get buffed. The unbreakable Sub-Zeros, the noxious Reptile. I see people, saying Reptile noxious is pretty bad. I don't believe that for a second. Kenshi, Goro, Cyber Sub-Zero, Bo Raicho, Duelist Liu Kang, Forever Lee thinking Duelist needs a command grab. Joking, but yeah, he's brought that up on more than one occasion. But you don't take that one too serious. Not now, Calf. I'm voicing my thoughts here. So I'm very optimistic. I'm not. I'm cautiously optimistic about this patch. But at the same time, we've all been playing this game long enough to know what we should expect from it. Characters are hopefully going to be normalized, not destroyed. I mean, I don't like Alien, and I don't like Melina, and I sure as hell don't like Sonya. I haven't liked Sonya since this game came out. I've always thought she was a problem. But even though I don't like these characters, and they are really good, I don't want to see them made to where you can't use them in high-level competition, because that isn't the point of a balance patch. That's an expectation. You expect these characters to get destroyed, or you expect all the low-tier characters to get buffed to be high-tier, and all the high-tier characters to be buffed to be low-tier, or whatever the mentality is for some people. That's not a realistic expectation, in my opinion. There is a whole lot that goes into these balance patches. I mean, you gotta think of how many characters and variations are in this game, and you have to go through each one, more or less, find what the character's good at, what the character's not good at, and try to adjust it so that they're maybe a little bit better, maybe a little bit toned down, so that they can compete at higher level, and they don't get completely outclassed by 10 other characters above them. The same can be said for characters that have one variation that's so good you don't even need the other two. You know, Grandmaster Sub-Zero, for instance. Why would you need to use Cryomancer or Unbreakable when Grandmaster does everything more or less and does it better? So, to be realistic, I don't think it's a realistic expectation for every top tier character to get nerfed and every bottom tier character to get buffed. Because that's a whole lot of work that's got to go into the game to basically overhaul it from the ground up. And you got to think, with Injustice 2 setting to launch next year, probably in April, the same time MKX came out, I don't know how much work they're going to put into keeping MKX alive and well, or if the community is going to actively work to keep both games going at tournaments. I mean, history would dictate that once Injustice 2 comes out, MKX is going to get dropped like a bad habit, and people are just going to kind of forget about it, except for the loyalists and people who hate Injustice, you know, whoever they may be. So as far as what to expect, I expect normalization of the characters that completely outclass everybody else. Now, that list of characters is probably smaller than what some people may think, at least in my opinion. I mean, you have the top 5, obviously, and you maybe even have 2 or 3 characters outside of the top 5, like Takeda, Mystic Ermac, I guess some might say, Shaolin Kungjin. You know, these characters that are really good, but maybe not top 5 good, somewhere between top 5 and top 10. You know, they might be normalized and toned down a little bit. That would be a realistic expectation. That's my expectation. And that the rest of the roster isn't going to be adjusted too much, because by default, nerfing or normalizing the top 5, the other characters are going to be a little bit better by comparison. You know, not everybody has that point of view. Some people are free to disagree with me on that, but that's just how I personally feel. There are characters in this game that are good, they're just not as good as the character above them. You know, Kenshi, for instance. Kenshi's not a bad character, he's just bad by comparison to the rest of the game. So if you tone down the characters that destroy everybody else, then Kenshi by comparison isn't so bad. You know. But again, that's just my opinion. People are probably going to disagree and blow me up in the comments for that, or give me a ton of thumbs down, but it's whatever. And the other thing, the realistic expectation that I have is that the meta of this game isn't going to change. I mean, you can nerf the top 5 characters. That's probably going to happen. You can nerf the top 10 characters. At the end of the day, this game still fundamentally has issues that I don't know if they're really going to address. I mean, there are characters that have really bad anti-airs, or they can't anti-air at all without meter. Johnny Cage isn't that great at that. Jump-ins lead to almost, I mean, from a lot of characters, jump-ins lead to jailing 50-50s, like Ermac, for instance, Scorpion, maybe. Kotal Khan gets free pressure off of a jump-in, Sonya gets free mix-ups off her jump-in. There are characters with reasonably safe 50-50s, or I'm sorry, mix-ups, not 50-50s. And even if you nerf the top 5 characters, there are still going to be other characters that have them. I mean, Grandmaster, for some characters, can put up an ice clone and then do either low or overhead mix-ups from behind the clone, and even if you block the mix-up, you still can't hit him because the clone's in the way. I mean, you can armor, but his move may trade with your armor, and then you get hit by the clone. You know, just little things like that. Smoke technically has a safe 50-50, or safe mix-up, sorry. So, even if they normalize the top 5, top 10 characters, there's still going to be dirt in this game that you're going to have to learn how to deal with. Every character just about has it, so to think that a patch coming out is suddenly going to increase your skill level as a player in dealing with some of this quote-unquote nonsense isn't really a realistic expectation to have. You're still going to have to deal with MKX at a fundamental level, which is going to be really good jump-ins, so-so anti-airs depending on what character you play, mix-ups, jailing pressure. I mean, even if you normalize Johnny Cage, A-List is still going to play the same. He's still going to lock you down off of certain block strings. They normalized Liu Kang how many times, and he still has the ability to lock you down. with his block strings. He's been nerfed, I think, 3 times since this game came out, and he's still really good at what he does. Same can be said for Devora. I mean, unless you take those characters and you turn him into a character like Marksman Aaron Black, who has no real plus frames off of his block strings, his fireball cancel block strings, I should say, then you're still going to have to learn how to deal with it. You're going to have to learn how to deal with characters that have limbs that you can't hurt, like Devora, like Alien. Characters that have weapons that don't have hurt boxes, like Kung Jin. I don't think that's going to be addressed. He can still do max height neutral jumps and jump in punches and hit you with a stick and you can't hit him. Now that's not necessarily broken, it's just an element of the game that you're going to have to deal with even after this patch is up. So again, this is all just my opinion. There's no, I guess, fact from behind what I'm saying. I could wake up the day after the patch and find out that Kung Jin's stick has a hurt box, Devora's limbs have hurt boxes, Alien's tail has hurt boxes. I could be completely wrong about all this. I'm not expecting that. I don't think it's realistic. That's just what I'm expecting to come from this patch. Normalization of the top tier characters, the ones that completely outclass everybody else. Maybe a few minor adjustments to the other characters to where they are a little bit better. I mean, I genuinely think Unbreakable does need help. Boraicho is one of those characters I think is hard to balance, because if you balance him the wrong way, especially Bartitsu, then he just becomes what you hate about every other character in the top 5. You know, once he gets you in the corner, you won't think he's low tier anymore. I can guarantee you that. It would be nice if, when they're normalizing or at least going through the characters, that they think about things that people aren't really talking about. For instance, what's it, covert ops? No, special forces. Everyone's all concerned about demolition, and they should be, because demolition's really good. But at the same time, a really good special forces player is going to make or do a lot of the same things demolition's going to do, just not quite as well. And trust me, if demolition gets destroyed and special forces goes unlooked in the normalization, then you're going to be dealing with a lot of those same problems, just on a slightly smaller level. So I've rambled on long enough. This is something to keep in mind. Normalization of top tiers isn't something going to turn you into a top player. You're still going to have to deal with a lot of the same fundamental issues that MKX has, unless they address everything, and I don't think they will, because there's only a few months, that I'm expecting before Injustice 2 comes out. So I don't know how much they're going to really invest into this patch, other than just fixing a few of the known issues. So be cautiously optimistic is my advice. And those are my thoughts. Feel free to disagree. My thoughts. Peace out, everybody. Have a good weekend.